Okay, we're going to go ahead and start off with section 6.1, which is entitled The Law of Sines. Now, what I plan to do is I want to go ahead and start the movie until I come back tomorrow, and we will finish that up all the way probably until Thursday at the latest. And then depending on Thursday, how far we get along, we can either start some practice problems involving the law of sines, as well as on Friday. And then right before you leave for the Thanksgiving break, I will go ahead and assign an optional test which will cover the law of sines. Now this is optional, so that means you don't have to do it. I would strongly suggest that you do complete it, because that way you can go ahead and start off your 6 weeks with a free 100, because it should be an easy 100 for you. Okay, so in chapter 4, if you remember, or if you go back to a couple of weeks ago at the beginning of this class, you studied techniques for solving right triangles. That's when I introduced sine, cosine, tangent, and their reciprocals, cosecant, secant, and cotangent, and those involved what kind of triangles? Right triangles. In this section, and in the next, you will solve oblique triangles. Oblique triangles are basically triangles that have no right angles. And as a standard notation, the angles of a triangle are usually labeled as capital A, capital B, and capital C. So in other words, the capital letters are the angles, and their opposite sides are labeled as little a, little b, and little c. So as you can see, angle A is right here. Its respective side, which is known as little a, which is right here, is directly across from it. So in other words, opposite from it. Same thing with angle B and side B, which is right here, and angle C and side C, which is right here. Now keep in mind that all triangles will not be labeled like this. They will not be labeled A, B, C in this order. It could be A, B, C in this order, but you still apply the fact that directly across from it is its respective side. Now, to solve an oblique triangle, you need to know the measure of at least one side and two other parts of the triangle, either two sides, two angles, or one angle and one side. So basically it's going to be broken down into 4 cases. And right here is the theorem or the law of sines, and it's a ratio. Basically it's side A over sine of angle A is equal to side B over sine of angle B, and side C is over sine of angle C. Okay? And before I move on to the next slide, let's go ahead and recognize a few properties of a triangle. First of all, we know that a triangle has how many sides? 3. Correct. And also, we do know that all triangles add up to equal how many degrees? 180. Correct. So those are just 2 important properties that you should be able to recognize when it comes to triangles. Okay, likewise, this part right here, the law of sines, can also be flipped, and it would be the same ratio, only this time all of these bottoms will be on top and all of these tops will be on the bottom. You can actually flip them also, so just keep that in mind. Okay, so let's start off with an example. It says, given a triangle with angle C equal to 102.3 degrees, and angle B is equal to 28.7 degrees, and side B is equal to 27.4 feet, find the remaining angle and sides. So take a couple of seconds to go ahead and draw this triangle with its appropriate given conditions. Now, if I go ahead and start and you're still not done, go ahead and tell the substitute to pause it for you so that you can actually finish writing it. Okay, well, let's take a look at this triangle. There are three pieces of information that are given to us: angle C and angle B. So angle C is right here and angle B is right here, as well as side B. So in other words, for this part, what's given to us are two angles in any side. Now this goes back to whenever you were back in geometry, you had to learn all those theorems and you also had to do proofs. So this goes back to, this is an angle, angle, side kind of triangle. So therefore, because it is classified as an angle, angle, side triangle, we can use the law of sines ratios. Alright, so let's go ahead and find, it says find the remaining angle inside. So that means that we have to find angle A, we have to find side A, and we have to find side C. Let's start off with the easiest part. We all know that all angles in a triangle add up to be how many degrees? 180, correct. So basically, we know that angle A plus angle B plus angle C equals how many degrees? 180, correct. Well, if I have two known angles, what do I need to do to get my last and third angle? Good, I basically need to subtract both of these from what? 180. So if I do that, I get that 180 minus angle B minus angle C will give me my angle A. From there, all I need to do is basically substitute. So I say that angle A is going to be equal to 49 degrees. Now go ahead and make sure, I know you probably don't have a calculator, but I give you permission to use it on your phone. We should be able to say that it is equal to 49 degrees. Okay, so we have all of our three angles that are part of this triangle. Now let's go ahead and find out the rest of the sides. This is basically where we need to find A. It doesn't matter which side you pick first. You could have solved for side C first. You could have solved for side A. It doesn't matter. Okay, so I do know that if I set it equal to a ratio, let's say we were given side B. So let's take a look at our previous slide. If we go back to our previous slide, we have A over sine of A equals side B over sine of B equals side C over sine of C. So let's go ahead and take what is given to us and set it on the left-hand side right away. I know that side B is 27.4 feet over, well, technically it's supposed to be sine of angle B. But this time I do know what angle B is. It's what? It's 28.7 degrees, correct. Now we set that equal to, we're trying to find A, so we say A, which is a side that we don't know, over sine of A. Well, if you remember the step above, we know what A is equal to. In this case, uppercase A, that is equal to 49 degrees. From there, all you need to do is basically cross multiply and divide. So basically you would say 27.4 times sine of 49 degrees divided by sine of 28.7 degrees. What I would do first on my calculator is say this times this first and press enter, get an answer. Then I'll say divided, I would press that division sign, and then I would press sine of 28.7 degrees. and then I would get my answer for A. Before you move on though, what unit of measure are we in? We are in degrees, exactly. So you need to make sure that your calculator is in what mode? Degrees, exactly. So make sure you do become aware of that. Okay, so if you do all of that, you should get that A equals 43.06 feet. Okay, from there, the only part left to do is find side C. Again, I would start off with my ratio that's given to me. So I would start off with this part right here. So 27.4 over sine of 28.7 degrees. This time, it's not going to be equal to this part. It'll be equal to the part that involves lowercase c and uppercase c. So in this case, it would be side C, which we don't know, over sine of big C. Well, what is sine of big C? What does big C represent? 102.3 degrees. So we would say sine of 102.3 degrees here. From there, it would be a cross multiply and divide type of problem or process, and we should get what our side C would be, and it would basically be close to 55.75 feet. So let's recap on this. We are given a triangle, and what kind of triangle is this again? Well, it's not a right triangle, it's an oblique, right? It's an oblique triangle because it doesn't have a right angle. And from here, we are given three pieces of information, which are an angle, and a side, which means we can go ahead and use the law of sines. From there, angle A is basically determined from our basic property of triangles that we all know. A triangle has angles that add up to be 180. So to get the missing angle, we say 180 minus the two that we know. So minus 28.7 minus 102.3, which leaves us with 49 degrees. So we have all three angles. From there, we use the law of sines ratio to go ahead and write or find the appropriate sides. We set up a proportion, cross multiply and divide, and we get our value for A. And we set up our proportions one more time, and this time set it equal to the conditions or the given statements for the B part. Oh, the C part, I'm sorry, the C part. And we cross multiply and divide one more time, and we get our value for C. Okay, so this is example 1. Make sure that you understand it, because you will be turning in these notes so that I can count them as presentation grades for you. Some of y'all need these presentation grades because some of y'all have 2, 3, or some of y'all may not have any at all. Okay, so take some time to finish this problem out before I move on to the next one.